This is my review of the new Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack for The Sims 4. And in this video, we are going to go over literally everything that's coming in the pack. We'll talk about what's good, what's bad, and also whether or not I think this one is worth buying. I was given early access to this pack by EA, but I am not being paid. I literally just got to play with it early. When they do this, they give us a second version of The Sims 4 with just the base game and Businesses and Hobbies. And this version has a couple of quirks. You're gonna see a watermark with my username floating around the screen, and that's actually on the game. I didn't just put that on the video to be annoying. This version also has no gallery access, so it might look a little bit different than normal Sims. And it's technically not final software, but usually nothing changes between now and the release. And also, because I only had Businesses and Hobbies, I can't really talk about cross-pack compatibility in this video because I haven't been able to personally test that out yet. But I have played many hours of this expansion pack over the past week, and I am ready to walk you through everything in it. Real quick, for the sake of transparency, I do have a creator code with EA, so when you use my code at checkout, I will earn a 5% commission on the sale of Sims packs. I mention that because I understand that for some people that might complicate things when making a review, but I truly have no reason to lie to you, and I'm making this video not to sell you a Sims game. I'm making it because I want you to know what you're buying and know whether or not it's worth spending your money on. This game is really expensive, and I am not some evil supervillain trying to trick you into paying EA. I just want you to know what comes in the pack. Okay, so with all that being said, let's dive into the game. At its core, this pack is about monetizing your Sims hobbies. It comes with a couple new hobbies, but it also gives you the tools you need to make money off of any hobby in the game, including all of the base game ones and all of the skills that come with other packs. You'll primarily do this by running a small business, and this is the major new feature of the pack. So let's start there. Any Sim can open their own small business, including children and teens. You just click on this Owned Businesses tab and then pay 750 simoleons to register your Sim small business. And from here, you can completely customize it. You can choose a name, you can pick a custom icon from a really long list of options. You can also write a description, and then you choose your business activities. And this is where you really customize what kind of business you're going to run. There are a few business presets, and these are basically just all of the existing community lots. You don't have to use these. It's mostly just an easy way for you to set something up by default. So if you wanted to own and run your own gym, the default presets are to have Sims come and work out and then come and shower. My preference is to add activities myself, and there is a really long list of activities to choose from. Pretty much anything your Sim can do is on this list of business activities. There's food-related ones like drinking bar drinks or drinking coffee. You can even have your Sims come here and cook themselves. There's also art and music ones like doing pottery, getting tattoos, playing instruments, or you could have them come here and watch live entertainment. You could have them do hobbies like working out, doing woodwork, reading. There's a bunch of game selections. There's different social activities like fighting and being romantic. They can do outdoor stuff like looking for frogs or using the hot tub. You can make a ghost business and have ghosts come and possess objects. There's a bunch of kids activities as well if you wanted to make some sort of indoor playground or after school hangout. And there's even home related activities like sleeping and cleaning and watching TV. So when I say you can literally do anything, you can literally do anything with this. And once you set up what sort of activities your customers will do, you can choose how they'll pay you. So you can pick to have no entry fee. This is probably best if you're trying to run a store and you want to make your money from them buying your stuff. Personally, I would not recommend this. This pack isn't really about stores. It's more about selling a service. So I would charge an entrance fee. If you pick hourly, they'll start off by paying you about 5 simoleons per hour to be inside. And if you pick a one-time fee, they'll just pay at the door when they first get there. With this, by default, they'll pay you about 23 simoleons, but this will go up as your business levels up. And you can also change the price modifier. You can have it be discounted, or you can make it extra expensive. Just keep in mind that if you make it too pricey, they'll probably be less likely to pay it. This price modifier affects both the cost of entrance, but also the cost of goods on your lot. So if you're trying to sell your custom ceramics, they'll be more expensive if you increase the price modifier, and you can't do it separately. So you can't offer a discounted entrance fee and then charge higher for your pots. It happens all at once. And lastly, in this initial setup, you can choose your target target customers. You have got a whole bunch of options to choose from. You can set it so all of your customers have to be rich, and you can make it required. You can make an occult business where ghosts are more likely to visit. You could have everybody be single. You could make a place that a bunch of teens hang out in. You could even set it up so that infants, toddlers, and children come to your lot, and you can pick if the caregiver stays with them or not. This is kind of an option for you to make a daycare, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. So with this target customer criteria, by default, it just means that Sims who have these skills or these traits are more likely to come to your business. But if you select the required button, it means that they have to have those skills or traits to come to your business. I actually wouldn't recommend making it required unless you have a very specific idea. In my experience, when you require it for entry, you sort of limit your customer base. There's not that many Sims in the game, and there's certainly not that many Sims that have specific traits. So if you make it so that everybody has to be evil, it means that you have like 2 customers who can come to your shop. If you just prefer that those customers are evil, you might get some extra people in there, but you still got some room to make some good money off of it. In this case, I've set it so our preferred customers have some artistic traits and different artistic skills, and now we are good to go. Once you've set everything up, you can hire an employee. You don't necessarily need to have extra employees, and you can run it by yourself. This might be the kind of thing that you work up to as you're progressing with the business. It's kind of similar to running a vet business or running a retail store and get to work. You don't necessarily need the extra help, but it can be nice to have. And I actually think that the employee system in this pack is worlds better than any other business you can run in this game. It is a little bit different, so you have to know a Sim to hire them. You can't hire strangers like you can in other packs. You don't have to know them well, but you have to have at least met them before. And you can also hire Sims in your household this way. Usually in previous packs, the entire household owns the business. So for example, if you own a restaurant, the entire house technically owns the restaurant. Every person in your household can access the settings. In this case, a single Sim owns a small business. Technically, every person in your house could have their own small business. You just can only open one at a time. And I guess the hiring of household Sims is kind of a formality in this case. It's kind of funny because you will still pay them a wage, but it just deducts it from your household funds and then adds it right back. And Sims can own their own small business while simultaneously being an employee of a different one. They can have a real rabbit hole job and still be an employee of your small business. And the nice thing about them being an actual employee is that you can manage their employee tasks. So you don't have to formally hire the Sims in your household because they can just help out without working for you. But if they're hired, they'll do those employee tasks autonomously. I found this menu to be a massive improvement from the other packs. You have a giant list of tasks to choose from. This includes things like cleaning, repairing, scrapping, half-finished art projects. If you've played The Sims 4 for any amount of time, you'll know that townies love to half-finish a painting and just leave it there on the easel. So scrapping paintings is actually a time-consuming, important task. You could also set your employees to be in charge of hosting classes or lectures. You could have their job be to create pottery that you can sell. I set one of my Sims to tend the tattoo table, and every morning when I opened the business, she autonomously went there and started tending it. And obviously I could just click on it myself, but it's really nice to have all those things preset and then the business kind of just runs on its own. And it works really well with employees that are outside of your household. I keep saying it, but I just found the employees from this pack to be so much smarter and so much better at their jobs than the other business packs. And I mentioned how a single Sim owns the business, not the whole household, but you can easily transfer ownership if you wanted to. The business will still retain all of its perks and its levels and stuff. I did this because my Sim's grandma ran a business and she was about to die, so I had her pass the business down to her granddaughter. I actually don't know what would happen if a business owner died, but I'm guessing it would just have you transfer it to a Sim in your household. Also, if you want, you can create a custom employee uniform. Most of the time, my Sims were running their business in their pajamas because I didn't set a uniform and I was too lazy to make them change. They would kind of just roll out of bed and go downstairs and start hosting lectures. The possibilities of this small business thing are basically endless. It is so customizable that you can kind of create any community lot that you want. And the big difference here is that you are the one that owns it. So you could do something as simple as opening a pool. We have pool lot types in the base game, but this time it's your pool and they have to pay you to use it. You could have a bar where Sims order drinks and play games. And instead of it being owned by some invisible entity, you are the boss. You could cheese it a little bit by having Sims pay you to come and paint and then sell their paintings back to them. I was doing this and I was making a lot of money that way. Or you could get a little bit more creative and make some sort of hybrid business that does tattoos and also sells cotton candy. I have have so many ideas of things that I want to try when the pack is officially out and I've got all of my other packs. I want to make a petting zoo, a laundromat, a bed and breakfast, maybe an art gallery, a cat cafe. I literally have a spreadsheet of stuff that I want to do with this pack. And I found that I mostly prefer running my small businesses at home. But if you want, you can also buy a separate business off your lot. This is the new small business lot type. And if you've played with other business type packs in this game, this is pretty similar. But you don't have to buy a second lot. You can just assign rooms in your regular house to be part of the business. All you have to do is register a small business, and then any sim can change the assignment of different rooms on their regular residential lot. And again, this is completely customizable. So you could have the entire ground floor be public, you could have just one room be public, you could make a fake garage detached from the house that's public. You can also assign rooms to be employee only because maybe you've got a candy store and you want the kitchen to be just for employees. All of these different room assignments are essentially just door locks. It'll just affect what sims can enter where. Everybody can see everything, and when you go visit a small business lot, you can still see their house. It's not like For Rent where they're separate and there's loading screens between them. Picture it more like the doors are just locked for certain sims, so you won't have random customers walking in and out of your bedroom. I will admit that I did still have a few random people get into my house part. It was usually just one or two sims, and it was usually the same guy. My guess is that maybe that sim was somehow visiting my lot and he wasn't technically a customer. I never talked to him or invited him over though, so it was kind of weird when he started sleeping in my bed. I can see myself getting really annoyed at this in the future, but it's just so typical Sims 4. I got random sims breaking into my house all the time. Even pre this pack, sometimes there's just people that walk in and start opening my fridge, so I'm not really surprised that it happened here too. Every business has a renown level, which is basically its star level. You'll increase this by having happy customers. It takes a lot longer than I expected to level this up. It was actually difficult. It's definitely not an easy process to max it, but you will get some nice perks as you level up. Higher level businesses will have a higher base price for entry. And you know I love a skill tree, and they have given us one for our small businesses. As you level up, you'll get perk points that you can spend to purchase perks on this skill tree. This is a major improvement, I think, from the way you buy perks and get to work. Those work a little bit more like reward traits that you buy with satisfaction points. This is more like how werewolves and vampires work instead. And there are 3 types of perks that you can buy: schemy ones, neutral ones, and dreamy ones. And these kind of tie into your business alignment, which we'll get into in a second. There are 15 perks to choose from, and they range from small things like having a tip jar to more chaotic things like having sims be able to commit insurance fraud. Some of the more positive ones are the ability to give bonuses to your employees, offering a customer appreciation day where all the goods and services are free. I don't know why anyone would do that. You can choose to activate or deactivate this whenever you want, and I actually had a lot of fun doing it because I got a couple random things. I feel like if you have other packs, there's some potential to get some really good money this way. It's just maybe hit or miss. I'm picturing them paying me with those golden frogs from Jungle Adventure and me getting 13,000 simoleons, but they could also just give you a rare crystal. By the time you unlock this, you'll probably have a lot of money, so it's not a huge deal if one sim pays you with something cheap. This white collar robbery one means that you could steal stuff anytime, anywhere. You can make fake payments for your bills. You could mine crypto coin. This muscle memory one means that you'll build skills faster when your business is open. And irresistible scent means customers will stay longer, so they're more likely to pay you more money for that hourly fee. I did an entire Rags to Riches video where I tried to make money through fraudulent insurance claims. I just went around stealing people's stuff, bringing it back to my business and setting it on fire and then getting paid by insurance. I also made a surprising amount of money mining crypto with that Simo coin feature. I was getting 1,000 or 2,000 simoleons every time. Now, they will try and tell us that business alignment is a primary feature of this pack, and frankly, I do not agree, and I actually find this kind of dumb. It is an interesting idea in theory, but when I was actually playing, it felt more like a side quest with exclusively negative effects. So depending on how your sim interacts and behaves, your business will develop an alignment. I kind of had to go out of my way to get this. I wasn't really building it just naturally. You could lean towards the orange and be virtuous, or towards the purple and be nefarious. You're either a dreamer or a schemer. And when you're good, you might try to inspire others with your business story or offer bonuses to your employees. And when you're bad, you might commit fraud fraud-related crimes or behave shadily. When you get to the top of either alignment, you'll get a bonus trait, but also a new fear. And this is what I mean by it always having negative effects, because even if you wanted this, even if your sim is shady, they'll still get a fear from it. Schemers will get a new fear of being exposed, and dreamers will get a fear of being judged. I do think this makes sense, and for a storyline, it's great. You're at the top of your game, you're trying to be a good person. Of course, you're gonna have some fear of judgment, but honestly, this is so annoying for gameplay. It made me regret trying to get to the top. Like, why am I being punished because I finished the alignment? Other sims are also supposed to treat you differently depending on if they agree with your alignment or not. So if they have conflicting traits with your schemer alignment, they might dislike you more. They also threaten that if your sim's partner has conflicting traits with it, they might divorce you over it. So again, cool idea in practice. I think in reality though, it just feels kind of weird and surface level, and I almost would rather they have spent their time and energy on a different feature. I didn't even really find those bonus traits to be that useful. The whole thing is just that you might feel internal satisfaction or internal guilt over it, and you might have customers that argue with you over it or like it. Don't get me wrong, I love being a schemer. I just wish that it was functionally different somehow, because it doesn't feel that impactful, and honestly, I probably won't try to get to the top again, but I am being really mean. So let's switch gears for a second and talk about something that I love, which is the new pottery skill. This is one of 2 new skills in this pack, and many of you know that I have been begging for this for so long. I was so excited about pottery. It is a full 10 level skill, and you need 2 different objects to craft ceramics. You'll need the pottery wheel and also the pottery kiln. Your sims can sit at the pottery wheel and select from 14 different objects to craft. These range from decorative things to fully functional items. There are a few vases that you can actually put flowers in, and I discovered this because it let me put spinach in the vase, but you can also put the flowers that your sims grow in there. You can also make a functional tea set and a functional incense burner. There's a planter pot that works with the gardening skill but is 10 times cuter than the default base game ones. And after you've created that item on the wheel, you can leave it unglazed, or you can take it to the kiln, which has an attached workbench for glazing. There are 10 different glazes to choose from, and they're the same across all the items. After they glaze it, they'll then fire it in the kiln, and your object will be complete. Sims who are level 10 can repair broken ceramics. I was sort of hoping that this would be a bigger feature, because they had really hyped up Kintsugi as being a big thing in the pack. In reality, they can just click repair on something, and then it puts it back together. Kintsugi is a beautiful Japanese art form of repairing broken pottery, so I guess I just sort of expected there to be a little bit more to it in the game. In game, it doesn't feel like an art form, it just sort of feels like you've got a bonus swatch of each item. And then the other major skill is tattooing, and I actually think that tattooing is a lot more in-depth as a skill than pottery is. It is also a 10 level skill, and you can start out building the tattoo skill by designing tattoos on the sketch pad, by getting mentored by another sim, or by just straight practicing tattooing on another sim. I think it is hilarious that you can immediately start tattooing on another human without having ever practiced before. Skill level 0 and you can tattoo a person. But as you level up the skill, you'll unlock more tattoos and more stencils to use in the custom tattoo mode. I'll get to that in a bit. There are quite a few tattoos to unlock. Some you have to unlock by designing them on that sketch pad, and it's kind of just like painting. You even get a painting in your inventory that you can put on the wall. And others you unlock by being bad. If you happen to accidentally give someone a botched tattoo, there is literally a flop tattoo design for every body part, and you only unlock that if your sim happens to do it accidentally. When your sim tends a tattoo table, you will have townies come up to you and request a tattoo. It'll just open up this big menu of tattoos and you can scroll through and pick one for them. You can also offer tattoos to people, and with this you'll have a few more options. You can offer tattoos, custom tattoos, dedication tattoos, custom dedication tattoos, tattoo removal, and tattoo touch-ups. So let's break that down a little bit more. When you click offer a tattoo, it gives you that massive in-game menu that you can scroll through and choose from. But when you offer a custom tattoo, you can go into casts and get a little bit more detailed with it. With this, you can choose to layer tattoos, and you can also use the new paint mode with the custom drawing tool and stencil to create your own. If you've ever seen cats and dogs, werewolves, or even horses, you're probably already familiar with this feature. This is the brand new paint mode for tattoos. And with this, you can can literally make whatever you want. You can use different stamps, there are stencils, and there are brushes. And I won't lie, I am a little bit intimidated by this. I don't usually use the paint mode from those other packs either because I don't feel like I'm very good at it. You can make the brush really small if you want to. You could just put a stamp. And even though I don't personally think I will use this very often, it is still such a great tool to have. Tattoos are so personal, and I can't think of a better way to do this in game. It is really great that people have the ability to make them this way now. And even if you're scared of paint mode, I think you'll still get a lot of use out of this tattoo overhaul because this custom tattoo mode is also how you can layer them. Before, if I wanted a tattoo on my Sim's arm, I had to pick one. If I swapped it out, it would just replace it. But now I can add a layer and use multiple tattoos on the same part of the body. So Bella now has 3 tattoos on her arm right there. And I could add a layer and paint on top of it as well. I'm gonna hop back into the game for a second to talk about dedication tattoos. This is a little bit surface level, but if you want, you can get a tattoo dedicated to another Sim. I had my Sim get a tattoo for her sister, and when I showed it to her, they both got a cute moodlet. This is gonna matter a lot more to you than it will to your Sim. So it feels a little bit less like a main feature and more like a small storytelling tool. That's not a bad thing, it's just something to note. Tattoo touch-ups and removals work about how you would expect as well. When you give a bad tattoo, your client might yell at you. When you give a great tattoo, they might give you an extra tip. And you don't have to only give out tattoos, you can also get tattoos yourself. There is a tattoo parlor in town, and the artist there has level 8 skills, so she can give you quite a few different tattoos. My Sim had more of them unlocked though, so I found myself kind of wishing that I could give myself a tattoo. I almost wish that they had maxed her skill and unlocked all of the custom ones for her just to give you a better customer experience. But with that, we've kind of covered the major theme of the pack. Now I want to get a little bit deeper into all of the additional gameplay. One of my favorite parts of the pack is the new skill mastery feature. This lets Sims who have max skills gain additional perks. There are 18 of them total, and some affect specific skills and others are a little bit more broad. Final Touch lets you increase the quality of crafted items, so things like your pottery or your paintings. Space Benders can teleport. Creative Aura lets Sims emit an aura that helps other Sims nearby gain creative skills faster. In the Zone gets your Sims extremely focused and they won't have any need decay temporarily. Pigeonholed means you'll learn a certain skill type faster, but other skills a little bit slower. So you might be creatively pigeonholed and you'll get all of the creative skills more quickly, but maybe be a little bit worse at building like the fitness or logic skills. Each Sim has potential to earn 4 total, and elders are more likely to discover them. From my understanding, if you have an extremely high skill level, you continue doing that skill and you do things like go to lectures or go to classes, you can increase your chances of unlocking one. It's pretty rare. I played for about 6 hours in a save with one Sim and I only got 2 of them, but I also think there's some random chance involved with this. You'll get a pop-up offering you one of the perks and then you can choose to accept it. Elders can also bestow these perks on another Sim, so you don't have to leave it completely up to chance. If you have an Elder Sim in your household, they can pass those perks down to a loved one, or you can maybe befriend one of the townies who have the perks and then ask them to bestow it upon you. There's no downside to this, like the Elder won't lose theirs, it's just a way to share that knowledge. You can also buy a potion for 8,000 satisfaction points that lets you pick out any mastery perk. I assume that you could buy this more than once if you wanted to, and 8,000 points is kind of expensive, but if you've been playing with a Sim for a long time, it is super doable. I like that this gives you something to keep working toward after your skills are already maxed, and I like that it's a feature kind of focused on elders. I also love that you can pass them down because they are hard to unlock, so it's nice to keep that knowledge in the family. Passing on knowledge is a big theme of this pack. There are actually 3 new ways to go about this. The first is through mentoring, which I guess we kind of already had in the game. It's a lot different now though, and a lot easier to access. Anybody with level 5 in a skill or higher can offer mentoring to another Sim, and you could choose to do this for free out of the kindness of your heart, or you could offer paid mentoring, and your hourly rates for mentoring will go up as you build your skill. It's actually pretty expensive, so you can make some good money doing this. Also, if you are highly skilled, you can offer to be another Sim's mentor. This is a new relationship category, and there are even some sentiments tied to it. My Sim's grandma was her mentor, and Granny got this ungrateful mentee moodlet because she felt frustrated like her granddaughter wasn't trying hard enough or being thankful enough. You can also ask other Sims to be your mentor, and I found that this was a really great way to build skills quickly. I swear it almost doubles the speed that you gain skills. I can see myself using this a lot in future saves, and mentoring is more more of a one-on-one thing, but your Sims can also give lectures and host classes now. Anybody who has level 5 in a skill or higher can host a lecture, and you can literally do it for any skill on any lot as long as you have the whiteboard. So you could stick one of those whiteboards at the bar and start lecturing about fishing if you wanted to. Hosting a lecture doesn't build any skill, but listening to a lecture is a great way to build skill really quickly. And classes are sort of like extreme lectures. The difference is that you can only host a class in a small business, and it's a lot more structured. A lecture is just one interaction, but a class is a to-do list of a bunch of interactions, including lecturing. It's kind of like hosting an event, and you'll get a few different tasks you have to complete, and your customers will pay you more based on the quality of the class. So if you get a gold star, they'll leave happy and pay you more, but if you don't manage to complete any tasks, they'll leave unhappy and not pay you at all. And like lectures, you can host these for literally any skill. You're also required to do some lecturing and some mentoring as part of the class. To host these on your lot, you'll need to have a few required items. If you wanted to host a video gaming class, you'd need to have some computers nearby to the whiteboard for the students to use. It tells you what you need, and it's also pretty self-explanatory. Like, you can't host a painting class without easels. Aside from hosting classes, your sim can also attend classes. And this is a really, really amazing way to build skills. By default in Nordhaven, there are 2 classes you can take. You can join a pottery class or a writing class at 2 of the lots. I sort of wish that there were more classes set up because I really enjoyed using this as a tool for skill building. As a student, you'll have basically the exact same task list, just from the opposite perspective. So instead of hosting a lecture, you'll listen to one. This is something that I will use all the time. Sometimes I like to have my Sims take skill classes with university, but that's just a rabbit hole and they don't even really build that much skill. This is cheaper, fully active, and you progress your skills so quickly. This is basically what I've always dreamed of university having. I think I might add these whiteboards to the rec center, to the student union, maybe the community spaces and Evergreen Harbor. I also might try to make a little school for adults to take classes because I would love to have more Sims be able to use this. And on this knowledge theme, there is also a new family recipe feature. With this, you can create a custom family recipe and add a special touch that'll have very interesting gameplay effects. So you start by picking a base recipe, and this can be any recipe that your Sim knows. So if they're at level 1, they'll have less options, but if they've maxed the cooking skill, they can make it anything. Then you'll select a secret ingredient, and this is just one of the food collectibles. As far as I can tell, this only impacts the price because you can still craft it even if you don't have the ingredient in your inventory. And then finally, you'll pick a meal effect. You do have to unlock these, so you won't have all of the options straight away. And there is some sense to how you unlock them. For example, the fertility unleashed one makes Sims who eat that food more likely to have twins or triplets, and you'll only unlock this after you've had a child yourself. There's an academic ace one that makes Sims finish their homework faster, but you have to have finished school to unlock it. I started with an elder, and she did not have this unlocked by default, so you'll have to actually play with a Sim to get these. Others are a little bit easier to unlock, like if you've beaten someone up, you can get the spontaneous rage effect. If you call the sadness hotline, you'll get comfort food, and that one can decrease the duration of sad and uncomfortable moodlets. And these recipes can be passed down through generations, so once you've created a family recipe, you can teach it to other members of your Sims family, and then they'll be able to cook it even if they haven't unlocked those special touches themselves. They just have to be taught the recipe, and it takes like 2 seconds for them to learn it. I think this is gonna be so cool for my legacy challenges, and I like that it's completely customizable down to letting you type the name of the recipe. I also like how this feels kind of tied to elders. It's not an elder specific activity, like anybody can make a recipe. It's just stereotypically kind of an elder thing, and I'm always asking for more elder gameplay. And this one is kind of a fun bonus because I did not expect to get something like this in this pack. And while we're talking about food, this is probably a good time to mention the new candy making feature of the pack. So we now have the Kate and Berry Sweet Treats Fabricator. I don't know, it sounds kind of familiar, right? But this is a new kitchen appliance that unlocks a bunch of new candy recipes. It's not a separate skill, it just uses the regular cooking skill, kind of like how the waffle maker or pizza oven do. There are 22 different variants you can cook, and they're all different colors and flavors of jelly beans, lollipops, and cotton candy. If you wanted to, you could sell them at a shop, or you could just make them for fun. They're not worth very much money, but I did find that my cooking skill went up really quickly when I was making them. I maxed the skill in less than a day, so it might be a pro tip for trying to speed through the cooking skill. And also, if your Sim has level 5 mischief skill, they can create shocked candy. I thought that this would just mean sour, so I clicked it thinking maybe they'd get an uncomfortable moodlet or something. No, they literally mean shocked candy. Like when you eat this, their eyes start glowing blue and you can summon lightning strikes outside. I don't think it's dangerous and nobody died when I was testing it. You can make shocked versions of any of the candies and your Sims will have that ability for a few hours until the moodlet wears off. I feel like I should also mention that the candy is absurdly huge. It is so Sims 4 coded. The lollipops are literally the size of their head, maybe even bigger. I understand that this is probably animation related, so they can use the same animation for the cotton candy and the lollipop, so it has to be the same size, but it is so funny. I guess it's not that unrealistic because they sell giant lollipops at like Disney World, but I cannot get over how silly they look eating these things. Now there is one Sim who really likes cotton candy. I found them just kind of leaving it around sometimes. And I guess maybe it's not one Sim, it's more like 3, and they're not really Sims, they're raccoons in a trench coat. This is Trashly Real Person, and they are a sneaky, scammy raccoon that sells sneaky, scammy art. If you ask Trashly to see their wares, you can buy a few things. Most importantly, you can buy mystery boxes. There are 3 different types varying in price. The most expensive one will get you the best stuff, and the cheapest one will have less of a chance of getting the good stuff. I have probably opened over 1,000 of these, so I know them very well. You'll get random collectibles like crystals or plants. You might get literal trash like food out of the trash can. You might get build mode items, which is usually kids furniture or kids art. And you also might find stuff from one of the new collections, which we'll get back to in a second. In my experience, Trashly will likely come to your front door and try to teach you how to open a small business. I think that's meant to be a mini tutorial, so it is pretty easy to meet them. You can also find Trashly hiding out in an alleyway in the more modern neighborhood near a trash can. This is what Trashly calls their shop, and they will make a joke to you about not having an actual physical location. The dialogue with this Sim is pretty funny. Obviously, you cannot flirt or woohoo with them because they are raccoons in a trench coat. You also can't hire them for your business, but it'll let you try and then they'll get snarky with you about it. Let's talk about the collections though, and I need to take a deep breath before we get into this because honestly, this was one of the most frustrating things I have maybe ever done in The Sims. There are 2 collections in this pack. The first is Trashly's certified art, and in it there are 16 pieces of edited versions of base game art. So you might find that bust statue with googly eyes added to it, or the sketch replaced with sketches of raccoons. They are actually all pretty cute. As far as I'm aware, the only way to get these are by opening Trashly's mystery boxes, or I guess maybe if you have that perk for your business where you can get paid in collectibles instead of money. But the boxes are the main way to go about this. I am not kidding when I say that I opened over 1,000 boxes to complete this collection, maybe even closer to 1,500. I literally sat there for an hour straight, non-stop opening boxes. I gave myself arm cramps doing this because I was just clicking the same thing over and over and over and over. I got the first 15 pretty quickly, and then the last one just would not show up. I was looking for that stupid raccoon sketch, and the worst part is that that was the first one I got in a different save. And then of course in the save I actually needed it in, I just couldn't find it. You might have a different, easier experience than me, but genuinely I felt like I was gonna lose it over that dumb raccoon. I know people always joke about crashing out these days. I was genuinely crashing out over this collection. I wanted it to be over so bad. I was near tears over this. I don't think I'm ever gonna do this collection again. I really do like the idea of the mystery boxes, and I did have a good time with it in the beginning. When I post that collection video, you're gonna watch me slowly devolve. I just think this is maybe more fun if you want one piece of art for your house and not if you're relying on this repetitive game of chance to complete the collection. Also, maybe not advisable to just open box after box after box for over an hour straight in real life. The other collection is not as bad. The other one is called the Nordhaven bike parts, and you'll fish these up from the canals around town. There are 28 pieces total to find, and each one has a little quote about a lovely woman in town. As you collect everything, you'll piece together little bits and pieces about her life, and it actually is really cute. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it is a really sweet detail. These are also cool pieces to hang on your wall, and there are some pretty cool color variants. If I could offer you any advice, you need to fish in every single fishing spot in the world. There are 2 different spots in each of the 2 neighborhoods, so there's 4 total. You'll go to each of them and then spend a long time cleaning the canal. This is a different interaction, and it's not just fishing, and you do have to fish in all of the spots to finish it. You can't just stand in one place and get them all. I will say that this one also got a little bit repetitive, but it wasn't as bad. And at least I can give you advice for this. There is no advice to be had with the mystery boxes. The only advice I can give you there is good luck and maybe avoid Trashly at all costs. And I finished this collection pretty soon after the Trashly incident, so I was already on the edge. And when you finish it, they give you a voucher for a free bike. It's not a special bike, it's just the same bike you can buy in build mode. And when I used the voucher, it gave me the exact same red bike that I already owned, which is kind of funny, but not exactly an exciting reward. I also think that I maybe would have liked it better had I not just spent hours and hours trying to finish these collections and crying about Trashly. I really do love collections as a feature, and I always have fun playing with them. So for that reason, I am glad that this pack came with 2, but I will always hate you, Trashly. But anyway, let's talk about hobby meetups. There are a total of 7 different hobby meetups that happen in Nordhaven. These are kind of like mini festivals, and I think we're all probably pretty used to this concept because we have something like it in almost every pack. Basically, once a day, a few skill building items will spawn in the town square, and then Sims will show up and interact with them. There's a fitness one, an artsy one, a music one, a cooking one. There are always 2 per day, one in the morning in one neighborhood, and then one in the afternoon in the other. These are a good place to meet Sims with similar interests to you because those people will gravitate towards those hobby meetups. You also might run into Sims with skill perks, and if you get to know them, you can ask for them like I was saying earlier. I was kind of scared about these because the last thing The Sims 4 needs is more notifications. We get so many pop-ups about events like these for every single world, but thankfully you can choose what events you do get notified for, and they are all off by default. So when you click on the sign in the town, you can opt in to notifications for these. You could choose one of them, many of them, all of them, and you can also easily turn them off if you change your mind. I like how this makes the town feel more lively, and I do really enjoy that there is always something going on. This just isn't something that I feel like I need to go out of my way to attend. They kind of just happen, and it's fun if you stumble upon them, but I wouldn't really consider this a major pack feature or anything, and I don't think I'll come to these if I'm living outside of the world. While we're talking about gameplay, I feel like it's important to mention some of the biggest cons or downsides that I found with businesses and hobbies, and I am devastated to have to tell you this, but there is not a new woohoo spot or death type in this one. In every review I make, I always say that those are hallmarks of a good pack, and I think we got kind of spoiled in the last couple expansions because they came with multiple of both. We literally had a woohoo pack and a death pack last year. I can't really think of an item that screams woohoo that would go along with this one, but I wish we could have at least gotten a new death type. Imagine if there was like a poisonous candy flavor. In Lovestruck, you can choke on the chocolate. Could they bring that back? Also, they literally made it so you can wield lightning if you eat the shocked candy. Why is that not dangerous? Shouldn't that at least have a chance of backfiring? I was also really annoyed that there isn't a true food display case. They're giving us one, but only as an early purchase reward. So we have this whole candy making feature, the ability to run a candy shop, and you just have to put the candy on a regular shelf. I hate that they put the food shelf behind a special paywall, and not just any paywall, a limited time one, so it can go away forever if you miss out. The other 2 items I think are fine to miss out on. It's just a lamp and a statue. You don't need those to play, but I hate when people miss out on important things like this. It just really sucks that if you don't buy the pack straight away, you'll miss out on what feels like a kind of essential item. We do have a glass display shelf, but it's kind of a generic glass display shelf. It doesn't look like it's made for food. The early purchase one looks like a fridge, and I'm really excited about selling handcrafted food in my businesses, and I don't want to just shove it in a glass box. I want the food box, and I actually didn't have the early purchase items in this early access version, so I can't test them, and I really was feeling the lack of that fridge. I have never been a fan of these early purchase things, but in this case, I think this was actually bad of them to do. Okay, and this last one I'll mention, I am not really sure is fair to be called a con of the pack. It's more just a con for me personally. A lot of us have been really hyping up the ability to build daycares and hotels now with the new business features. We were basing all of this excitement on a few of the business activities that we saw in the trailer. You can set your employee to care for little ones, which made us all think that we could run a daycare. This was a big deal to me because daycares are one of my #1 most requested features for The Sims 4, and I am sad to report that while you can technically run a daycare, I guess it's more like a glorified indoor playground that you can charge admission for. Your sim can bathe and feed the kids when they visit, but you can't see their needs or know what they need from you. You can tell when they're stinky because it's visible, but you don't know when they're hungry or lonely or whatever. You also don't actually need to care for them. them, they can just hang out and use your toys and they'll still pay you even if they're miserable. There is no benefit to you taking care of them and you don't lose out on anything if you don't. So if you want to run a daycare, you can, but it's more like playing pretend. I wouldn't really call this a daycare at all, and I was pretty sad about that. I still want to be able to run a daycare so badly, and hotels are kind of the same thing. I guess you could technically open a business and charge people to sleep there, but they won't stay in an assigned room or have it function like an actual hotel at all. It would be more like a bed and breakfast, and even that's a generous name. I think maybe it's more like running a hostel. And they never said that you could run a daycare or a hotel. That's just something that I had really hoped for, so I was kind of disappointed when it didn't turn out to be how I was expecting. That wasn't ever the goal of the pack, and I do really like all of the other businesses you can run, and I hope that those two are still dedicated features that we can get in the future. I still really want a real hotel pack too. Also, I think that we should address the elephant in the room. I think a lot of people have been comparing this pack to Get to Work. They say it should have been in Get to Work, it should have been a pack refresh, and I can see where those thoughts are coming from, especially since both of the packs are kind of like sales oriented. I think the key difference is that Get to Work is solely about running a retail store. And with businesses and hobbies, it's more about running a business in general. With this pack, you can sell a service and not just an item. And yes, you can sell items, but you can only sell craftables. It's really more about monetizing a hobby and not so much about running a shop. I think for me in the future, if I want to run a store, I will still use Get to Work for it. The sale of items feels more like a side thing in this pack. Like maybe I run a tattoo parlor and I sell prints of my tattoos on the side, or I have a pottery business where I primarily teach classes, but you also can buy my pots if you want them. I also think it being a home business and letting you live on the same lot as your business is a huge deal and a really big difference. I don't really agree that this should have been a pack refresh because A, I don't know if they're ever gonna do one of those again. We only got the Spa Day one and it was years ago. But also B, this pack is fully fleshed out and we wouldn't have gotten as much with it if they just did like a little mini overhaul to the Get to Work retail system. And like I said, selling stuff isn't even really the primary feature of the pack. It's not really about retail. And I also don't think that it's wrong for them to revisit themes like this. And I wouldn't even really say that this is them revisiting Get to Work. It's just a sort of similar broad concept. And I just don't think that the entire idea of selling stuff should be completely off the table just because they made a different way of selling things 10 years ago. When it's different enough, which I think this is, I think that's okay. Also, Get to Work kind of sucks. Respectfully, it's a really old pack. I would never tell you to buy that one over this one. You know that TikTok sound that this is what I wanted, the pastels? This is what I wanted. This pack is what I've been asking for and wanting for so long. And it really is an apples and oranges thing with Get to Work. Yeah, they're both fruits, but they're not the same. Let's move on though, because I have been talking a lot about the world without actually talking about the world. So let's take a peek at Nordhaven really quickly. This is a Swedish inspired world, and I think it pretty clearly takes inspiration from Stockholm. This northern coastal city is known for its thriving independent local businesses and the enchanting beauty of its cold seasons. There are 2 neighborhoods in this world with 12 lots total. For comparison, Lovestruck had 3 neighborhoods with 12 lots. Life and Death also had 3 new neighborhoods with 12 lots total, 13 if you count Grimm's Office. So it's pretty comparable to other recent expansion pack worlds, with the key difference being that it only has 2 neighborhoods. I was sad about this, but I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing to have 2 larger neighborhoods instead of 3 smaller ones. It's just different. This is Iverstad, which is kind of the more modern section of town. It was originally an industrial district, so it's got a lot of old factories that have been converted into living spaces. It also says just maybe steer clear of that one dark alley. They say a shady character hangs out there at night. And then across town, this is Gamelvik. This is the more historic neighborhood. It's the oldest part of town, and each of these 2 neighborhoods have 6 lots, 4 full ones and 2 empty ones. Overall, I really like the style of this world. I think the environment is extremely impressive. It is beautiful everywhere you look. There are quite a few little details that I really enjoyed, like the bike lanes that have actual Sims cycling down them. Some of the shell buildings are clickable. Like if you click the train station, you can travel or go train spotting. There's also a clickable church, and you can take a rabbit hole tour of the historic building. These are just little things that your Sims will go off and do on their own and then come back with a moodlet. And sometimes I find that the bigger neighborhoods in this game feel a bit more empty because everything's kind of spread out. But because in this world they so often have events going on in that central part of town, it does help to make them feel more lively. Each neighborhood also has a little section of market stalls, and they'll sell a variety of food and collectibles all the time. So even when there isn't an event going on, there is still usually a concentration of Sims over there. I don't love that there are 4 empty lots in this world. This might be controversial, but I am team 0 empty lots. Personally, I wish that everything was full by default. I would rather choose to replace them if I wanted, and I know that not everybody likes that. They're always gonna leave a couple empty lots for you to use as a starting point. I just think that 4 is too much. Like a third of the world having nothing on it makes it feel kind of empty. I wish they had given us a second starter home, or maybe like a park or a pool or some other kind of bonus community lot. And speaking of community lots, we have a museum and a lounge, but there's also technically a tattoo parlor, a coffee shop, and a pottery studio. Those last 3 are all small businesses owned by townies. There are 4 townie families in this pack, and I am so excited that we get to have so many families and community lots because the lots are dual purpose. I think that alone makes this one of the better worlds that we've ever gotten. It's rare that we have this much to do in a world, and 3 of these lots feel like new community lot types. There is also an empty small business venue that you can buy and fix up, and this feels like my childhood dreams coming true. If you've been following my channel for a long time, you'll know that I used to have a fixer-upper series where I would renovate sort of run-down buildings in game. I love this kind of thing, and it is really cool to have one officially in the game. It also reminds me a little bit of that fixer-upper hotel you can get in The Sims 3 Island Paradise. Sorry to bring up hotels again. I just love the storyline here of buying this older, run-down building and then trying to repair it. And while we're talking about these lots, we have to go into build mode. This entire pack has a sort of Scandinavian style, and you can definitely see that in the build items. There's a lot of clean lines, light wood tones, leather, and accent pops of color. A lot of this stuff is pretty clearly business focused, so we've got a variety of new shelves and display items for you to sell your crafted collectibles. We have quite a few new signs and a bunch of different decals for you to use as logos for your business. There's actually 30 different logos total, and they gave us a color, a black, and a white version of each. These will all slot onto the new wall signs, and they match all the logos that you can make when you're setting up your business. They've kind of given us one for everything you might possibly want to run. There is also a new bathroom set, including a new toilet stall. I won't go item by item and point out everything because this video is already pretty long, but I will show off a few of my favorites. There is a beautiful new bed in this pack with some really nice solid color swatches. It's pretty neutral, so you could use this anywhere. There's also a few new couches, chairs, and ottomans. This couch has a million swatches because they gave us every color both with and without the throw blanket. I feel like that makes it so much more usable because it's kind of weird to have the same couch twice with that same throw blanket on it. Looks a lot cooler when it's not quite so samey. We have a new single tile desk that I adore and I'm going to use so often. I'm also obsessed with all of these new plants, but especially this new wall plant and this little potted palm. We've never had fireplaces like this before, and we've got 2 new modern variants that are also pretty big in this pack. I love that we got 3 different variants of this bookshelf. I like to tile bookshelves along an entire wall, and I hate when it's super obvious that it's just the same thing repeating over and over. Since we have 3 different variants, it's gonna look so much more realistic, and they're only 260 simoleons, so you could use these in a starter home. I also really love these 2 new wardrobes. This smaller one has some fun pattern swatches and some solid wood colors. And I like how this one is tall and skinny. I really like the size of this rug, and it's got a nice combo of some more traditional swatches, more modern patterns, and also some plain neutrals. There are so many different fairy lights in this pack. They've also given us a million different pieces so you can combine them to create custom shapes. There's wall ones, there's ones for the ceiling, and there's even a fence with fairy lights on it. We have 5 different fences total. We also have 7 different wallpapers and 5 new floors. I love all of them, except I hate that we don't have any brick colors that match the surrounding tile. We don't have access to any of this stuff or even any colors that are remotely similar. I don't understand why they always do this. They taunt us with all of these nice floor patterns off lot and then don't even give us anything like it. There is not a new kitchen set in this pack, which I'm always disappointed by. I'm a little bit less disappointed because we did just get a kitchen set in the base game, but I still want more kitchens. Overall, I really like the build mode of this pack. I was worried that it would struggle a little bit being torn between home and business, because I often find that when expansion packs have two different build themes, we kind of end up getting two half-finished themes. In this case, I actually think that it all matches and works together pretty well. At least all of the buy mode stuff does. We do have two completely different styles of doors and windows, but I feel like there are enough variations of both that it still feels pretty complete. We've got all of these different more modern ones, and then all of these are a little bit more traditional. There are 15 windows and 10 doors total. I really like this solid glass panel door. I have been wanting something like this for so long, so I'm really glad to finally have one. And I also think that all of the build stuff here will tie in really nicely with a few other packs. Like, most of this stuff will match Dream Home Decorator and Tiny Living really well. I always appreciate when packs work well together. And now, moving on from build mode, let's dive into Create a Sim. I won't spend too much time in cast because I'm not personally a huge cast player, but I will give you a brief overview, starting with the most important part: traits and aspirations. We have two new traits: Idealist and Shady. Idealist Sims hold high moral standards and strive for a better world guided by their values and principles. They are committed to doing what they believe is right, even when it's challenging. And Shady Sims excel at exploiting situations and bending rules for personal gain, often without regard for conventional ethics or fairness. They thrive in mischievous activities and can influence others to adopt their way of living. So those kind of tie in with the new business alignment that we have. And the two aspirations are a little bit like tutorial modes. The first is called Master Mentor, and this sim wants to learn from talented mentors and then pass that knowledge on to others. As you're playing through this, it'll have you get a mentor, learn skills, take classes, and then eventually host classes and mentor other sims. And the other one is called Esteemed Entrepreneur, and this sim wants to run a small business full of happy customers, either through business practices rooted in idealistic dreams or tricky hustles based on pragmatic schemes. And this one will take you through running a business and have you max out both your business renown, so your star level, and also get to the max of one side of the business alignments. We talked a lot earlier about tattoos, and these make up a pretty big chunk of the CAS in this pack. There are 18 new ones in CAS unlocked by default, and then more that you can unlock by progressing through the skill in game. I was nervous that we would get less of the other CAS stuff because we had so many tattoos, but I actually went back and counted to compare to Life and Death, and we have almost the exact same distribution of numbers of shirts, pants, and full body outfits as we did to that pack. They both have like 9 pairs of pants. We got 13 new hairstyles for adults in this pack, and they gave us 6 of them for children as well. I also literally own a bunch of this cast stuff in real life. Like this shirt, I own this shirt in this exact yellow color. Some of the cast is also kind of giving Legally Blonde to me, and there's also a bunch of stuff that would work well as like workshop clothing, stuff that you could use when you're painting pottery and whatnot. A few of them even have dirtier swatches. We have 6 new pairs of shoes, and I'm kind of obsessed with the boots. I also adore these new hats that we got. There is quite a bit of overlap between the masculine and feminine frame cast. I would describe a lot of this stuff as almost business casual. There are a few things I really love, like this new sweater with the crossbody bag. Kind of obsessed with this little sweater, and also this tucked in t-shirt. Kids also got 3 new shirts and a few new full body outfits. And like I was saying before, we have a few of those adult hairs also converted for children. A couple of these are actually the same full body outfits that the younger Sims have. They've been doing this a lot recently where they give us a few of the same things across age groups. I think some people might consider this lazy, but personally, if the alternative is to have nothing for toddlers, I would rather them make conversions. I don't really see a point in them making a hairstyle only for adults or only for children, so I'm glad they made a converted version for both. Toddlers did not get any new hairs, but they did get 3 new full body outfits and 2 new hats. They're the same hats the older Sims have. And infants even got 2 new full body outfits. We have this raccoon onesie and also a little set of overalls. But that just about covers all of the main parts of the pack that I wanted to point out to you. This video is really long, and there's still some stuff that I feel like we haven't gotten a chance to cover. But now that you know what's coming, I want to dive a little bit deeper to talk more about my final thoughts on the pack. First of all, I have been pretending to run businesses like this forever. Since the very beginning of The Sims 4, I have been building community lots with pretend apartments above them. I've been owning retail lots with Get to Work and just pretending that I live on the same lot as the store. And now with this pack, we can run businesses and actually live there with them. This feels like a missing puzzle piece of the game finally falling into place. I think that The Sims really shines when they give us formal tools to accomplish stuff that we've already been pretending to do. Like they saw the trend of all of us building tiny houses and they gave us a tiny house pack. They watched us making fake apartments and they gave us for rent. And now they've seen us begging to live on the same lot as businesses and wanting to live above our stores, and they gave us businesses and hobbies. I have been begging and pleading for multi-purpose lots for years, and these aren't exactly multi-purpose lots, but they're similar and they're almost better in a way that I couldn't have really predicted. I think I always imagined being able to put two different community lots on the same place, like a combo restaurant and gym. I didn't expect them to make it like this, where I could assign all the rooms separately. So obviously this is good when you want to have a combo residential and community space. It's not so good for other multi-purpose lots because you can't combine any lot types, but you could kind of still make that restaurant gym by setting your Sims to eat food and use gym equipment. And most often I want to combine a business and a residential lot more than I want to combine multiple businesses. So this actually works out fine. And don't even get me started on Pottery. Again, one of those things that I have been wanting forever and ever. When I saw Pottery on that teaser, I was near tears. I have always felt like Pottery would be the perfect skill to add to this game, and I'm so glad that we finally have it. I do think that it's maybe a little bit smaller than I expected. I would have liked to have a few more options of items that I could craft. Maybe if we had a few more simple vases and like some mugs and some bowls to decorate kitchens with. I do like all of it. I just would like to see maybe a little bit more. And also because I was so excited about this skill, I'm more prone to being disappointed by it because I had really hyped it up in my head. I was really pleasantly surprised by all of the tattoo improvements in this pack. I honestly didn't see that one coming. I never expected them to make a tattoo pack, and I think it's a really nice addition to The Sims 4. I mentioned this earlier, but tattoos are so personal, and us just having a handful of the same default tattoos to use over and over again just wasn't cutting it. Being able to custom draw them now is huge, and I can't wait to see what artists do with it on the gallery. People make some really incredible stuff with cats and dogs. They'll paint things like tigers or custom pet breeds, so I can't even imagine how great all of the tattoos on the gallery will be. Now, this is a hobbies pack, and it technically only comes with like 2.5 hobbies. I would say that pottery and tattooing are full ones, and then candy making is like a little bonus. So yes, we only have a couple, but it does also gamify all of the other base game hobbies. Because you can use literally any of the other skills to make a business as well, we actually have quite a bit of variety. And that's not even counting all of the other skills from other packs. I do feel a little bit weird talking about that because I haven't personally been able to test other pack stuff, but it seems like cross-pack compatibility is going to be a major highlight of this one. You don't need to have other packs to enjoy this. I played it a ton and I didn't have any other packs installed, but if you do have other packs, this will give you a new way to use them. So in a way, it'll almost add value to some stuff that you already own because it will give you some additional content for it to tie into. And it's rare that I say this, but I think that this one would make for a really good first pack. I think that Businesses and Hobbies has really good bones. If you're gonna buy just one Sims pack, I like to recommend stuff that really easily ties into my average everyday gameplay. I want something that I can use with every Sims household, so I often recommend things like seasons or cats and dogs for that. And with this one, we can create pretty much any community lot that you want, and there's essentially a complete skill system overhaul. So it's got a ton of stuff specifically for businesses and hobbies, plus a framework to work well with anything you ever buy in the future. And it's also a ton of fun only with the base game. It's got a really big, beautiful world. The cast and build items are pretty versatile. I don't ever want to make a blanket recommendation for players on a pack because I don't know you or your playstyle that well. We're all different. We all have individual preferences, but I do think that the average Sims player will get a lot of use out of this. For comparison, I love Life and Death, and I think a lot of you love it as well, but I probably wouldn't tell someone who is new to the game to buy that as their first and only Sims pack. Businesses and Hobbies though, this one I think has got range. It's so hard to talk about the value of Sims packs because I'm not sure that any of the expansion packs are worth $40 full price, but this one does hold up compared to recent packs. If it were worse or if it had less content, I would tell you, but I think they've kind of been on a roll recently. They're all pretty good for different reasons, and they all have a similar amount of content. $40 is a really steep price for any extra Sims DLC, especially considering how much DLC the game has. And I get the FOMO thing, like you want to buy the pack right now when it first comes out, but you will also enjoy this pack 6 months from now when it finally goes on sale for the first time. You don't have to buy it straight away just because it's shiny and new. You will get those 3 bonus items if you buy the pack before April 18th. Please don't feel like you need to rush to go out and get those. The pack isn't going anywhere and it's okay to miss out on that lamp. I am still mad about that fridge though, but I haven't even played with it yet. So don't go and buy the pack right now because you need the fridge, because I don't even know if it's good. If you are planning on buying this pack or any Sims pack ever from the EA app, I would really encourage you to use a creator code at checkout. You don't have to use mine, but please use somebody's creator code. Most of your favorite Sims creators will have a code that's usually just their username, but you can always ask them or check their bios or video descriptions to find it. They'll make a 5% commission on the purchase, so with this pack, they'll earn $2 from every person who uses their code when buying it. It's unfortunately not a discount code for you, but it does mean that EA gets less of your money and they give it to a creator instead. It's basically a free way for you to support them since you were already going to buy the pack. So again, you do not have to use mine, although you could if you wanted to, but please use somebody's if you're gonna buy any Sims pack. I feel a little bit weird anytime I mention the creator codes, especially in a review. So hopefully you know that I'm not being swayed by the possibility of a commission. I am always gonna be honest with you about the pack. I have everything to lose by lying to you, so I would never do that in a video like this. I have no reason to sit here and pretend to like a pack just to get $2 from you. I used to obsessively read Carl's Sims 3 guide when I was a kid because I had very limited funds and very limited opportunity to buy Sims packs. So I would sit there and read the same guide for pets over and over and over again just to be sure that that was the one that I wanted. I had to know everything coming in it and I had to make sure I was getting the right one. And that's my goal with a video like this. I want to give you those tools to know everything coming in the pack and make that decision for yourself. I'm also going to be posting a ton of businesses and hobbies content here on YouTube this week, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss it. Tomorrow I am posting a feature-length film of gameplay. It's like 2 hours long. I'm also going to be live streaming on Twitch every single day playing more of the pack. I'm able to answer more questions and kind of get into more detail in those streams because they are longer. My Twitch name is just lilsimsie and I'll link that down below for you. I will be live tonight, but then I'll post it onto my second YouTube channel called More Simsie right afterward. So you can subscribe to me there as well to see like the full 3-hour long live stream re-upload. And now I'm done plugging my own content, okay? I promise. I hope this video was helpful. I have spent a really long time on it. I really do put my heart and soul into these reviews, but I think that just about covers it. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. If you made it this far, you are dedicated. So thank you again for watching, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. Also, this is my longest review that I've ever written. The script is over 11,000 words. For comparison, my Love Struck video was 7,000. Is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know.